And this is a dangerous situation because you're getting me towards the end of the year. So there's the hazard that I'm like, well, I can be more honest now. My name is Catherine Sanger, but I go by Kate, and I am Vice Rector at Chindana Residential College. But I don't know that I've ever really been a home is where the heart is person. For me, home really is San Francisco. I think partially it's the air. It just smells like home. It's just the right amount of dry and humid. The weather is home, sort of that light sweater weather, and being able to see ocean. And of course, it's the people that are there. But the more I've lived away from San Francisco, the more I've come to realize that it is the physicality of the city, the culture of the city, the topography. I've only ever had a single home. My mother's water broke unpacking boxes because she and my father had just moved into this house. And that's the same house that I grew up in, and it's the same house that my father lives in now. And so when I go home, it's to that same home. I did a senior thesis as an undergraduate on U.S. foreign policy and international law. And I still think it might be the best thing I've written. I think it's better than my PhD dissertation, which is probably says something. I loved that process. I loved spending a year digging into research, piling books high on my desk and working my way through them, taking notes, organizing notes, bibliographies. I loved it all. So I thought, ooh, backdoor. I will be a professional researcher and policy advisor. I'll get my PhD. Then I'll go and I'll work for the Brookings Foundation or some such thing. And then the next U.S. National Security Advisor will hire me, and I'll make just this fabulous contribution to U.S. foreign policy, making it more efficacious and just and community building for the world. I don't know why I was so certain that that was a good path for me, because it's so obvious to me now that I really love interacting with humans. But as part of my PhD program, I was assigned to teach. And I thought, oh, this is going to be this thing I have to do to get through the program. And I completely loved it. And the teaching is what really got me up and out in the morning. You know, maybe I'm not fixing U.S. foreign policy, but I came to realize I didn't have the love of that work on a day-to-day level. I once referred to myself as an educator in front of a friend of mine who teaches high school students. And he turned to me and he said, "You're not an educator, you're a professor." I think that comment actually captures some of the tension that I've felt in my professional development so far that's led me to take on a somewhat hybrid role. I do find it interesting that people will hear about each other's failures, but sometimes only remember each other's successes. In my first year of college, so I was required my first year to take a quantitative reasoning class. I squeaked by, but I squeaked by with a D+. And that D+ sits on my transcript, and it always will. And the great thing is that when you're out of college for a year or two, no one has to see your transcript anymore. I was a very, very good, committed smoker. Coffee cigarette, end of day cigarette, wake up cigarette. Quitting was probably the hardest thing I have ever done. And there was a special confluence of circumstances that made it possible. I know that it really annoyed me when people lectured me about smoking when I was a smoker, because it was my favorite thing and I was so good at it. I just feel just profound gratitude to my past self from my now self and my future self. I don't usually talk about that.